What's up, everybody? My name is Godzi, and welcome back to another episode of Umineko When They Cry Answers Arc. Last episode, Battler invited basically every character in the entire series to his party, and everyone showed up except for like Erica, Featherin, and Eva Beatrice. But I guess there's reasons why those three didn't show up. But either way, Bernkastel eventually showed up, and she's just like, I'm gonna challenge you guys to a game. And then Battler and Beatrice are just like, alright. So now she's challenging them to a game. And they already had a freaking overview of who's died so far, with Angie. So I did a little bit of thinking on my own between last episode and this episode. And obviously I don't know much. I can't pinpoint a culprit, but I can say a few things. Also, I noticed this after last episode. Kinzo ain't there, so I guess he has no relevance in this game. Another interesting question, though, would be you two. Are you the same person in this game, or are you separate people? Because, as far as we know, the only people who survive to the point of the Ninth Twilight, since this seems to be following the Twilight format, are Battler, George, Maria, and if Shannon and Canon are different people, then Canon. So that also brings me to another character who I think is interesting to keep in mind throughout this, and that is Nanjo. Because Nanjo, he's the doctor character, so he's really the only person who we can trust to say whether or not a body is actually dead, except we couldn't even do that throughout the majority of Umineko, since he's, you know, an accomplice to Shannon, Canon, Beatrice, and Yasu, alongside Genji and Kumasawa and some other random people throughout the different games. But he was always an accomplice, so it's just like, in the first 5 games, we can never trust him to actually say whether or not a body was actually dead or not. His word was not something that we could trust in the first 5 games. In the 6th game, it doesn't even matter, because Erica went and killed everybody, and in the 7th game, it didn't matter, because Rudolph and Kyrie just went through and murdered everybody, so yeah, it doesn't even matter. So, in this game, assuming Nanjo isn't the culprit or an accomplice to the culprit, which I'm not even sure if there would be accomplices, Bernkastel's just like, figure out who did it, so there's probably just one culprit, or maybe 2? I don't know. There's probably not going to be red truths or anything either, since she said the narration is supposed to be objective. There's not supposed to be any illusions in it, so that's also good to keep in mind. But Nanjo is certainly a character I want to look out for. I think the culprit would have to, like, if Nanjo's not the culprit or an accomplice to the culprit, meaning he's just Nanjo, and he can determine for sure whether or not a body is dead or not, then, you know, it's interesting. We know Nanjo doesn't die on the first or second Twilight, because the first Twilight seems to be Rudolph, Kyrie, Eva, Hideyoshi, Rosa, and Genji, and the second Twilight seems to be Kraus and Natsuhi. He dies somewhere on the 3rd through 8th Twilight, which makes me think the culprit would probably want to outlive Nanjo if Nanjo ain't on their side. So that would mean the culprit would have to be Shannon, Canon, Goda, Kumasawa, Maria, Battler, George, or Jessica. And one of these characters in particular, I have been suspicious of in the past. Like, Bernkastel's just like, figure out who done it. Not how done it, not why done it. But I think those still have to play in somehow to help us figure out who commits all the murders. Like, they're not gonna murder without a reason unless that's the whole point of the game and the culprit's like fucking Goda or something. Because Goda is one of the few characters who would not have a reason to kill anybody on the island. Goda's like the innocent man who just is there, and he doesn't have a reason to kill anybody or play into anything. But with one character in particular, well, many characters in this list have a reason to kill. Like, I'd say the only ones who don't, Goda, Kumasawa, Genji, Maria, and then, like, maybe Natsuhi and Hideyoshi, and Nanjo. Those are, like, the only characters who don't have true motives. Like, Kraus, Eva, Rudolph, Rosa, they all need money. Kyrie is beyond envious and probably hates parts of the family. I don't think it's going to be Rudolph and Kyrie again. I don't think they're going to do a repeat culprit. I think that'd be kind of boring if it just ends up being the same characters it's been in a previous game, but Erica doesn't seem to even be in this game, so that's fine. So if it's Shannon, Cannon, Eva, Rudolph, Kyrie, unless they do some really big spin on it, I'm not going to be particularly happy about that. But one character in particular that I really want to keep my eye on, and I know I've been talking in circles for 5 minutes, is George. George obviously has a reason to kill. He's been shown time and time again to be smart, have a reason to kill, have the ability to kill, and even be willing to kill. Like, yeah, of course, they were mostly him, just the supernatural scenes, like when he was fighting Gap and when he was fighting Eva Beatrice. But it still has to show some semblance of his character. He still has a motive to kill, basically. But then that begs the question, why is Shannon dead? Well, maybe someone fights back against George. It really depends on how everybody dies, but George is a character I'm gonna keep my eye on. It doesn't mean he is the killer. I'm just gonna keep my eye on him, because obviously he outlives Nanjo. At the very least, so yeah, George would be smart enough to not try and fake his death if the doctor isn't on his side. But whatever. Let's actually read this. The tragedy of the First Twilight was discovered at 6 in the morning on the following day. Goda, who had woken up to get breakfast ready, went to check on the adult siblings who had remained in the dining hall since the previous night because of the family conference. Tell us about when you discovered the crime. Hello there, why is it purple? The dining hall was locked up. Of course, there is a lock on the doors to the dining hall, but they usually remain unlocked. I knocked, but there was no answer.
That's when I arrived.
What's with the purple text?
I recommended that he try unlocking the door, just in case.
Is it like testimony or something? Is this similar to the Red Truth? Like the purple testimony. When I unlocked the door with a master key, a terrifying sight awaited me inside.
Eva, Hideyoshi, Rudolph, Kyrie, Rosa, and Genji. 6 people in all were lying there, covered in blood.
How were they killed? A great tumult followed. Everyone gathered in the dining hall. I don't want to remember it. The sight of all the sobbing children crouched over the corpses of their own parents. So did Nanjo confirm the deaths of them?
There was a chance they might have been alive still. Everyone was shaking them desperately. But it was no use. Each of the children confirmed the deaths of their own parents.
What? The children did? Why? That's really weird. So George confirmed the deaths of Eva and Hideyoshi, Battler of Rudolph and Kyrie, Maria of Rosa. Hey, who's Genji's kid? Dr. Nanjo and I confirmed that Genji was dead. Okay. I think it's fair to say Genji's dead at least then, assuming Nanjo is an impartial party. Such a gruesome way to be killed. No one is going to mistakenly confirm a death, even those other than myself. Interesting. Alright. No one's going to mistakenly confirm a death. This purple text is messing with me. So no one's going to mistakenly confirm a death. I see. So that would mean, if Eva and Hideyoshi are alive, then George was lying. If Rose is alive, then Maria... Well, it would basically mean, if Eva or Hideyoshi is alive, George is in Legion with them. If Rudolph or Kyrie is alive, Battler's in Legion with them, which... What's the fucking chance of that? Same with Rosa and Maria. This I can see as a possibility. Or at least like a combination of them, like father and son, because Eva's sort of crazy and Hideyoshi would probably actually support George and Shannon. I think this is a possibility. These three together. That'd be cool. It seems like Shannon and Cannon are different people this time, too.
It looks like all of the victims died instantly.
So there should be no fighting back then between the culprit and the victims. After inspecting the interior of the dining hall, we determined that all of the doors and windows had been locked, making it a closed room. Okay, so someone would have needed a master key in order to make it look like that. So they didn't leave through the window. And in order to make it a closed room, they would need to have a master key, but Genji died, so the culprit didn't have to be a servant, the culprit didn't have to be in legion with a servant. The culprit doesn't have to have faked their death in that room. They could have just taken Genji's master key and locked the room. And nothing suspicious was found inside the dining hall. Of course, there was no one hiding in the dining hall either. Naturally. All of us are here right now. It's clear that no one is hiding.
But Dad, if that's true, it doesn't make sense. 6 people were killed and the dining hall is a closed room. How could someone have killed them and escaped?
I'd rather not think of it, but perhaps the servants with their master keys are the most suspicious. They killed the 6th and left and locked the door with their master keys. It is a logical theory. Eek! That's absurd! Since there was no chance of the culprit hiding inside the dining hall, it made sense to assume that the culprit locked the door after committing the murder and exiting the room. But Genji's master key! It was only natural that the servants with their master keys would fall under suspicion. And sadly enough, none of the servants had an alibi. I doubt anyone would have an alibi for 6 in the morning, like, what's your alibi? I was sleeping. That's not an alibi. Then again, it wasn't only the servants. Everyone else lacked an alibi as well. Yeah, no kidding. Is there any way to walk up from the outside without a master key?
No, there isn't. That's not enough. I'll say it with the red truth.
Okay, so she is gonna give some red truth.
All doors can only be locked or unlocked with a master key. Of course, it is possible to lock or unlock the doors from inside the room even without a master key.
There you have it! Any other questions? Shouldn't there be keys to each individual room in addition to the master keys? Well, yeah, that too. They could have just taken a key from the servant room to lock the dining hall.
Normally those would exist, however, they make the game more complicated, so I've eliminated them.
So there's only master keys then?
Red truth. We'll consider master keys to be the only keys that exist.
Okay, so there's only 5 total master keys. In other words, all of the locks that appear in this game can only be locked or unlocked by master keys. Okay, so even rooms like Kinzo's study, the chapel... wasn't there another door that can only be unlocked with a certain kind of key? I forget which. That's what it means! It really is a simple game. In that case, we should now check the number of master keys and who holds them.
There are 5 master keys total. 1 is held by each of the 5 servants. The keys will be managed in a special way. The servants keep master keys on their person at all times, so it is impossible for them to be stolen, handed over, or used by any human other than themselves.
Oh. So does that mean Genji's master key is unusable now? What the heck? Now they're sounding less like keys and more like a fingerprinting system. That's an interesting metaphor. In other words, in the world of this game, it isn't the master keys, but the 5 servants themselves that can lock or unlock doors. I see, so Genji being dead means nothing. So either the culprit is a servant, is in legion with a servant, or faked their death inside the dining hall. We tried to retrieve Genji's master key, but had no luck. To guard against trouble later on, we destroyed Genji's master key. Okay. That's a weird way to put it, but whatever. This was the crime of the First Twilight. The scene was the locked closed room of the dining hall. None of the servants holding master keys have alibis. Then again, no one else has an alibi either. Damn, this is gonna go fast. Fucking been a while, Team Magma. Everyone returned to the parlor to discuss what should be done next. The phones were out, so they couldn't contact the police. Was the mysterious culprit hiding away somewhere, planning to attack their next victim at this very moment? Or was the culprit in here with them, mentally sticking out their tongue and tasting their next prey? None of them had alibis, and any one of them could have been a culprit.
However, that tense feeling didn't last long. By midday, everyone got tired of arguing and they decided to take a break. Kraus and Natsuhi announced that they wanted to talk with each other alone and went up to the second floor. That was the beginning, and after that, everyone went their separate ways now and then, such as to head to the bathroom or gaze at the endless rain. However, no matter how much time passed, Kraus and Natsuhi were the only ones who didn't return. Calls were sent to both Kraus and Natsuhi's rooms using the extension phone line, but there was no answer. Let me, check this again. Everyone went their separate ways. Okay, so they die in Natsuhi's room, right? And it says everyone went their separate ways, anyone has the opportunity to go and kill them then. Something might have happened. Everyone headed to Kraus's and Natsuhi's rooms together. And in Natsuhi's room, they found Kraus and Natsuhi lying sprawled on the floor. And then what, Jessica confirmed their deaths?
Madam's room was locked. It's just like the dining hall.
Really?
After getting everyone's permission, I unlocked the door.
Kraus and Natsuhi lay sprawled on the floor inside the room, so this room's locked too. Dr. Nanjo checked their pulse. Then he announced that the two of them had died instantly. Okay, so Nanjo confirmed their deaths this time.
Correct. I confirmed both of their deaths. There can be no doubt that they died instantly.
Okay, I'm starting to really believe it's George, Hideyoshi, and Shannon.
I searched all over the room, looking for a clue. In the end, I found that the windows and doors had all been locked, making it a closed room.
Another closed room! We servants all have master keys, so would be suspected again.
But have no fear. After Madam began to suspect us, we started keeping an eye on each other.
All of us servants were together the whole time.
Why? All of us servants can prove an alibi for all of the other servants. Ah, fuck. That's bad, then. So the culprit must be hiding in the room. Now that's interesting. So you're saying that this closed room is even more complete. Well, hold on. After getting everyone's permission, I unlocked the door. Did they... Okay. So Goda and Shannon are both just like, okay, the door was locked. But does that mean Shannon could have just walked up to the doorknob and been like, oh, it's locked, should I unlock it? And Goda's just like, oh my god, it's locked! So it's still possible that the door was unlocked and Shannon's in Legion with George and Hideyoshi. In the case of the first closed room, no one had an alibi. So for this closed room, all of them have alibis.
In this world, the servants themselves become living master keys. Since those servants have perfect alibis, it was impossible to lock Natsuhi's room.
Which means the door was never locked. We decided to preserve the crime scene as it was.
We put packing tape all over the outside of the doors and windows, sealing them.
Oh great, tape again.
I'm sure the culprit left some sort of clue in this room. We made sure that no one would be able to enter or leave until the police arrived.
Then we did the same to the dining hall. We also sealed the dining hall in the same way. We reached the conclusion that the entire mansion itself should be preserved. We also sealed the mansion itself, and all of us took refuge in the guest house. How did you seal the mansion? They sealed the whole mansion? Packing tape on all the windows? They even used a ladder for the windows on the 3rd floor?
The game would get complicated otherwise, so I've simplified it. All of the windows had steel bars on them, so it's impossible to enter or leave by them.
Okay, so the windows don't matter. Bernkastel's really making this simple, but also complicated.
Therefore, we'll say that they can seal the whole mansion by sealing the 2 doors, the front one and the back one.
Got it. That makes it easy.
What do you think?
Actually killing the 2 people in Aunt Natsuhi's room would be easy. Someone just had to knock and get them to open the door. However, they couldn't lock it afterwards.
Only the servants can lock doors, but all of the servants have alibis.
Unless the servants are all in it together. More importantly, the First Twilight has me suspicious.
You think that one of the 6 who died in the dining hall was actually alive and committed the crime?
It's because of Erica. I can't help but be suspicious when people are examining corpses.
So, you think that one of the 6 victims was alive?
Yeah. And afterwards, they killed Kraus and Natsuhi.
Then they locked the door from the inside, hid inside the room, and found a good chance to escape. That would work too, even with Hideyoshi. That theory does make logical sense.
I'll say it in red. The culprit of the First Twilight really did kill 6 people.
Is that at this point? That doesn't say... The culprit of the First Twilight really did kill 6 people. So if it's only one person who faked their death, then Krause and... I'm confused. That's a weird red truth. Then I'll take a shot with the blue truth. Here's the true nature of this closed room. The culprit locked the door from the inside, then hid in Natsuhi's room. Then after everyone left, they found an opportunity to escape.
Sure, I'll deny that in red. The group sealed the room at the same time they left. No culprit joined the group as they left. Also, all of the seals on Natsuhi's room, the dining hall, and the mansion itself will not be broken.
Huh.
In other words, you can't use that trick where they hide under the bed and slip out later.
Interesting. Nice going, Bernkastel. I still think Shannon probably lied about the door being locked then.
Thanks.
This was the crime of the Second Twilight. The scene was Natsuhi's room, a locked, closed room. This time, all of the servants with master keys have alibis. The whole group, realizing the dangers of being inside the mansion, took shelter in the guest house. Okay. The Fourth Twilight. So who's it gonna be this time? All those who took refuge in the guest house decided to hole up in there until the typhoon passed. There, if everyone watched everyone else, they should be able to prevent further crimes both from inside and outside. However, they wouldn't be able to keep it up without any breaks until the typhoon passed. Once again, their actions left the weak point open, and they were faced with yet another tragedy. If it's Shannon who died next... Shannon and Cannon went outside on an errand and still haven't come back! Okay. So... And then Shannon dies, so what happens to Cannon?
George got upset, so we all went outside to look for them.
We found Shannon lying there in the rose garden. Oh, poor Shannon.
Okay, so Shannon's dead.
I prayed she was still alive. However, I was forced to acknowledge that she was dead.
Did Nanjo confirm her death? Yep.
Of course, I also examined her and it confirmed her death.
Okay, I think that gets rid of my Shannon-George Hideyoshi theory then. When the two of them left, we were busy checking the locks around the guest house, so not one of us has an alibi. Me? Kill her? How could I have killed her?
That's right. George couldn't kill her. Ew. Later on, we learned that George alone has an alibi.
Oh.
At the very least, George couldn't possibly have killed Shannon.
I don't know why he would want to anyways. Okay, so George couldn't kill Shannon. Huh. If Eva and Hideyoshi survived... Well, granted, anyone would kill Shannon. Any of the victims of... Basically, anyone other than George would probably kill Shannon if they were the culprit. So that doesn't really give me anything. To turn it around, anyone other than George could have killed her. To prevent the culprit from using it for any mischief, we destroyed the master key Shannon had on the spot. Then where's Cannon?
At the time Shannon is killed, Cannon goes missing forever.
Okay, they're the same person then.
From now on, Cannon is treated as being killed.
Okay.
Also, Cannon's master key is treated as being destroyed.
Well, I thought it'd be rude, so I kept quiet about it, but that's what happens when Shannon dies.
In other words, we can interpret this as Shannon and Cannon being killed at the same time, even though we're missing a corpse.
That's right.
Looks like the crimes are moving along. Okay, so Shannon and Cannon are the same person then in this game too. This was the crime of the Fourth Twilight. The scene was the Rose Garden. There were no locks or doors, it wasn't a closed room, so the master keys were no longer a factor. Then the pace of the crimes began to accelerate. Oh boy. The Fifth Twilight and the Sixth Twilight. Probably Goda and Kumasawa if it's two at the same time. Everyone took shelter in the guest house. They carefully sealed all doors and windows, locking themselves in a closed room. However, several closed room murders had already occurred. Could locking themselves in a closed room do anything more than invite another tragedy?
After arguing fiercely in the cousin room about finding the culprit, they decided that they should double-check Nanjo, Kumasawa, and Goto's testimony. And there, they learned that a tragedy had occurred once more.
In both Goto and Kumasawa's cases, such wounds would have resulted in instant deaths, I believe. Such a gruesome way to die.
So Nanjo was probably in his room. Goto and Kumasawa were in the servant room and they got killed. Nanjo doesn't have an alibi, but the cousins all have alibis for each other, so that means it's not George. But that could still mean he's in Legion with Hideyoshi. Oh, and that one red truth, the culprit of the first Twilight killed 6 people. And that was at the time of the second Twilight. If Eva also survived in that case, well, Eva also faked her death, and George lied that his parents were dead, then it's possible that Eva killed Shannon, and then maybe George went out and killed Eva somewhere else, just because he's just like, fuck you, and then Hideyoshi came in and killed Goto and Kumasawa. But I feel like that's kind of weird. Why would George, Eva, Hideyoshi, and Shannon all work together? And also canon in that case, too. I mean, we're only like halfway through this, I'd assume. It's been 26 minutes. Like how they could survive with wounds like this. Goto and Kumasawa are both dead. Did Nanjo... I'd assume that Nanjo checked their bodies then? Well, we have been busy keeping a lookout and locking up and all that. Once again, none of us has an alibi. That's not true. Look, if they were killed in that way, the culprit would definitely have gotten blood spatter on themselves. But Dr. Nanjo and all of the cousins have no blood spatter on them. All of us, in other words, the 4 cousins and Dr. Nanjo couldn't have killed Goto or Kumasawa. Okay, yeah, that was obvious. In that case, it's clear that the culprit is someone other than us, so the culprit has faked their death up to this point. I guess that someone might have snuck in, so I checked around, but the guest house was still completely locked up. If George did that...
Perhaps the culprit has a master key after all.
But when a servant dies, their master key no longer works. Like, Bernkastel's just like, their master key is destroyed. So, whether the servant faked their death or not, it just doesn't happen. That's impossible. No master keys exist anymore except the 2 keys on the 2 people who lie dead here. Since the 2 master keys that exist are here inside the guest house, that makes this guest house a perfect closed room. Well, since someone's dead, it obviously wasn't perfect. This was the crime of the 5th and 6th Twilights. The scene was the closed room known as the guest house. Goto and Kumasawa's master keys were also destroyed, meaning that all master keys have now been lost. Okay, then how did they die? That's interesting. All the cousins have alibis for each other, so that would have to mean Nanjo let the culprit in. Unless whoever locked up the guest house didn't, and in turn let the culprit in, unless Goto and Kumasawa both shot each other and then Nanjo moved their guns. It's really been dancing around like how exactly they died. Were they shot? Were they stabbed? Were they cut into little itty-bitty pieces? They're really just jumping around. Now no one can break into this closed room guest house. At least that should have been the case. The 7th Twilight. So is it going to be Jessica or Nanjo? Oh, Nanjo. This time Dr. Nanjo was killed. He died in the entrance hall of the guest house. It was far too foolish of him to come here alone to check that everything was locked. He's dead! He's been killed! Even I can say for sure that this was an instant death. Everything is locked up perfectly! How did it happen if this is a closed room? That means the culprit is one of us. Impossible! Judging by the circumstances, Maria, Battler, George, and I couldn't have killed Nanjo. In the first place, no one could kill Dr. Nanjo inside the guest house. Were you all together? And look at this. Simply put, this is proof that Dr. Nanjo didn't leave the guest house. That means no one could kill Dr. Nanjo, right? So how was he killed? No one can answer that innocent question. This was the 7th Twilight. Once again, the crime scene was the closed room known as the guest house. Various bits of evidence made this crime seem even more impossible. Then the tragedy reached the 8th Twilight, the final one. This is going wicked fast. And I'm still confused. I'm gonna have to think this through a lot. Unless the game's just like, here's who the culprit is. This music's going. By now, it was clear that holding up wouldn't keep them safe. Jessica might have chosen anger as a way to numb her fear. She flew out of the guest house in a rage, searching for the culprit that surely hid somewhere outside. George, Battler, and Maria hurriedly chased after her. Then outside the building, they found Jessica lying on the ground. It was, as anyone could tell at a glance, a gruesome corpse. Poor Jessica. She probably died instantly. There's no way anyone could live through this. The three of us were together the whole time. George, Maria, and I couldn't have killed Jessica.
Yeah, the three of us couldn't have killed Jessica.
As if Maria could kill someone. Maria couldn't kill anyone.
Thanks. George couldn't kill an adult. He could kill a kid, though.
I don't understand it at all. What the hell is going on here? Why is Maria just like, George couldn't kill an adult? Who says he couldn't kill an adult? Were they killed using knives or something? If they were killed using knives or a handheld weapon, I can understand that. If it's a gun, though, then... Well, not many people in this family know how to use guns. It's been shown that Kyrie and Rudolph know how. And Eva learned how in the 7th game, but... If Rudolph and Kyrie went around with guns again, then... Why would they do all the closed rooms and stuff? I mean, to confuse everybody, and then fucking Eva wouldn't even matter in that case because they would have killed her immediately. This was the 8th Twilight. The crime scene was outside. However, the three who chased after Jessica have alibis. George, Battler, and Maria couldn't have killed Jessica. So is there really someone hiding on this island apart from the Ushiromiya family? The curtain is lowered on this tale for now. Okay. I don't know. It's all for my tale.
It's pretty well made. If you had a full-on reader, it'd stand up well against Beto's games.
I agree there. You did a good job. Well, the real work comes from taking this, reading it and making it worthy of proper theater going. Still, I'm stumped. On the face of it, the culprit has to be some mysterious person outside the Ushiromiya family. That would be the same as acknowledging the existence of a witch. We can also suspect the existence of some accomplices aiding the culprit. By the way, what was all that purple text all about? You just asked now. A new rule? I call them purple statements. That's very on the nose. Well, on the nose is the wrong word, but yeah, whatever. It's a rule I made to make the story a bit easier to follow. Just think of the purple statements as important spoken statements. In other words, you might be able to ignore the spoken statements that aren't purple. Oh-ho! Well, that's nice of you. Then are the purple statements as reliable as red truth? Yes. You can think of the purple statements as having the same power as red truth. However, there's one exception. A culprit can tell lies with purple statements. I see. To turn it around, anyone who isn't a culprit can't tell lies. Purple statements. These seem to be the key to Lady Bernkastel's game. Yeah, that's right. I'll explain the rules. The definition of culprit is one who murders, okay? It is possible for a culprit to lie. It is possible for a culprit to lie even before committing murder. Characters who are not culprits only speak the truth. Characters who are not culprits may not cooperate with a culprit. Ah! So that means there's only culprit and innocent. There's no accomplices. A culprit must carry out all murders directly by their own hands. A culprit must not die. Oh. A culprit must be among the characters appearing in the story. Purple statements are as absolute as red truths. However, the culprit alone may lie with purple statements. That's all. The definition of culprit is one who murders. Makes sense. It is possible for a culprit to lie. That seems reasonable enough too. It is possible for a culprit to lie even before committing murder. Well, no surprises there. Characters who are not culprits only speak the truth. How convenient. So that means I could probably trust characters like Nanjo or Maria. I think those two are the first ones that I should really pay attention to what they've said. Characters who are not culprits may not cooperate with the culprit, right?
So the culprits can't make accomplices tell lies to match their version of events.
Damn. My guess was that someone manufactured an alibi to cover for the culprit, but... too bad.
A culprit must carry out all murders directly by their own hands. In other words, there are no remote or indirect methods of murder, like traps.
A culprit must not die. In other words, they can't commit murder, form a closed room, then commit suicide inside it. I see. Doesn't that also mean that dead people can't be culprits?
That's a simple yet vital piece of information.
A culprit must be among the characters appearing in the story. So this isn't about some mysterious stranger who snuck onto the island.
The appearing characters are the same old 17 people after Kinso was removed. No one else appears in the story, so no one else matters. Purple statements are as absolute as red truths. However, the culprit alone may lie with purple statements. Now here's a troublesome one.
It might be the heart of this game. Does that cover all of this game's basic rules?
Besides that, I guess there's only the reader will tell no lies. In other words, outside of spoken statements, there are no lies in the narration. I could have added that stuff if I wanted, but it'd be a pain and make things complicated. So you willingly abandoned the witch's privileges. You seem quite confident.
She probably plans to win despite that.
That's all from me. I don't intend to give you any more hints or answer any more questions.
As the observer, I'll proclaim this once again. I guarantee that it's possible to pinpoint the culprit with this information. Okay then. Okay, got it.
I can't wait to get started. I can't believe the two of us are going to take on the same mystery together once more.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This is a real game between you and me. I recommend finding some paper and something to write with. Bitch! I got a whole stack of paper in my desk drawer here. Yoink, there it is, and I've been fiddling with a pen this whole time. I always fiddle with a pen in this game. That is, if you really intend to fight me. If you do get completely stuck, maybe you should listen in on Battler and Bayato's reasoning. We'll have those be hints for when you get absolutely stumped and can't move forward. So I'd rather fight you one-on-one. If you plan to enjoy our little duel, then try defeating me by your power alone without relying on hints. Can do. No hints allowed. Okay, let's enjoy ourselves, shall we? Enjoy this game that I've created just for you. Oh boy, what's going on now? Womp. Shing. Fwaha. Hi, Burn. Oh boy. Okay. Check purple. That's something I really want to see. How would you like to view the purple statements? Oh, dude, by character. Thank you. Okay, so the characters I really want to look at, as far as characters I can probably trust, are the characters that Nanjo confirmed the deaths of, Nanjo himself, and Maria. So I'll start with Maria. All of the victims died instantly. Okay. So I'm gonna have to write shit down, so I'm just gonna write every single character, and as I go through purple statements, I can figure out whether or not they could or could not commit a murder. So we have Kraus, we have Natsuhi, we have Jessica, we have Eva, we have Hideyoshi. Also, this music's awesome. We have George, we have Rudolph, Kyrie, we have Battler, we have Nanjo, we have Rosa, we have Maria, we have Genji, we have Shannon, we have Cannon, we have Goda, and we have Kumasawa. Okay, so Maria, I think, is one of the very few characters I can trust right off the bat.
all of the victims died instantly, so that would mean there was no sort of struggle anywhere. So, I'll have a second piece of paper for just general notes. So, if I can trust Maria, in which case I'll put an X next to her name, meaning she is not a culprit. All the victims died instantly, so First Twilight, in fact, I'll just format this by Twilight. 1, 2, 4, 5/6, 7, 8. They're not evenly spaced, but I don't care. So, instant deaths. All of the victims died instantly. All of the victims of the First Twilight died instantly. So if anyone faked their deaths in the First Twilight, heard her, they didn't die instantly because they aren't dead. Alright. Second Twilight. All of the doors and windows were sealed. All doors and windows are sealed. Everything's locked up perfectly. So Seventh Twilight was a closed room, for sure. So Seventh Twilight was a real closed room. Eighth Twilight, Jessica's dead, basically. So, that would mean Jessica, if she is dead, is not a culprit. So, just due to Maria in general, there's no way she could live through this. That would mean Jessica is dead, for sure. Jessica died for sure. The three of us couldn't have killed Jessica. That doesn't necessarily mean that George or Battler couldn't be a culprit, but they couldn't kill Jessica. So I'm gonna have to say... I'll just put impossibilities for murder next to people. So, Maria, just everyone. She couldn't kill anybody at all. Jessica couldn't kill anybody because she died. So, Battler couldn't kill Jessica, at least. George couldn't kill Jessica, at least. Alright, and then we have George couldn't kill an adult, he could kill a kid, though. So that would mean George could only kill people who are... Well, what counts as a kid? What counts as a kid in this case? Just anyone who is 18 or younger? Or anyone who's younger than 18, in which case that would just be Maria. And Maria survived up to this point, so... Yeah, that would basically just mean George can't kill anybody, so I guess we can just remove George from the running. So, that would mean, just due to Maria's statements alone, I can determine Jessica and George aren't culprits. So that's nice. Let's move on to Nanjo then. No one is going to mistakenly confirm a death, even those other than myself. So, that would mean... anyone who isn't a culprit who checked bodies on the First Twilight, which could potentially be all of them, did not lie about, their deaths, which would mean Eva and Hideyoshi aren't culprits. And that would also mean Rosa isn't a culprit. And of course, Genji isn't either. Rudolph and Kyrie are still possible because I can't remove Battler from the running. So... at the very least, Eva, Hideyoshi, Rosa, and Genji are dead. I'll just draw a skull. Just like, skull. And put an X over it because I'm too lazy to draw crossbones. Alright, I confirm both of their deaths. There can be no doubt that they died instantly. I believe I can certainly trust Nanjo. I feel really stupid if me just trusting Nanjo happens to bite me in the ass. So he confirmed the deaths of Krause and Natsuhi. So Krause and Natsuhi aren't culprits. Which also means Krause and Natsuhi are dead. Krause and Natsuhi died. I wrote did, okay. Fourth Twilight, I examined and confirmed her death. So that would mean Shannon is not a culprit because she's dead. And Cannon is not a culprit because he died at the same time. We're really getting down into the nitty-gritty here. Rudolph, Kyrie, Battler... I'm trusting Nanjo. That leaves Rudolph, Kyrie, Battler, Goda, and Kumasawa.
Fifth and Sixth Twilights, judging by these wounds, Goda and Kumasawa died instantly, I believe. Such a gruesome way to die. So that means Goda and Kumasawa are also dead. That just leaves Rudolph, Kyrie, and Battler. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to certainly look at all that stuff. So, Fourth Twilight, Shannon / Canon died. Deaded. And then Fifth and Sixth Twilight, Goda and Kumasawa are deaded. So the only characters left are Kyrie, Rudolph, and Battler. Deed. Alright. So, I might as well... Okay, characters who were dead from the very start don't even have purple. Which would mean if these two... If Rudolph and Kyrie did fake their deaths, they don't even have purple statements that they can lie about. That's interesting. So I might as well look at other characters who survived a while. Let's look at George, since I can trust him. No one hid in the dining hall. Well, of course. No one hid. Alright, forced to acknowledge that she was dead. So... Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on a second. I think I've made a big oopsie with my reasoning. Maria's just like, George couldn't kill an adult, he could kill a kid, though. If George could kill a kid, that doesn't mean he's not a culprit, right? Does Jessica count as a kid? Also, was there not a second page for her? There wasn't. Okay. He has the second page, though. Okay. Well... No, that would mean George hasn't killed anybody up to that point, right? Because I don't think anyone counts as kids. Because he couldn't kill... He had an alibi for Shannon and Cannon. So George couldn't kill Shannon or Cannon. And the only characters left who can be considered... He couldn't kill Jessica, he couldn't kill Shannon or Cannon. The only characters left who could be considered kids are Maria and potentially Battler, who are both still alive. So yeah, George isn't a culprit. Which would mean even Hideyoshi are dead. Okay, I'm just being stupid then. Guest house was completely locked up. Yeah, 5th and 6th Twilight closed room. And I'm getting a freaking pop-up on my computer. Alright, 7th Twilight, instant death. So, basically, yeah, Nanjo's dead. And that would also mean everyone who was inside the guest house couldn't kill Nanjo. So Battler couldn't kill Nanjo. And Jessica, George, and Maria at the very least aren't even culprits. You know what, let's fucking double-cross Battler then, because I don't want to immediately be like, oh, he's a culprit. Nothing suspicious was found in the dining hall. Nanjo checked their pulses, and he announced that the two of them had died instantly. We sealed the dining hall the same way. If Battler's a culprit, then that's a lie. Anyone other than George could have killed her. None of us has an alibi. For the 5th and 6th Twilights? Weren't you all together? I think you all have alibis. No Master Keys exist anymore except the 2 keys of the... Okay. This is proof that Dr. Nanjo didn't leave the guest house. George, Maria, and I couldn't have killed Jessica. You know, I don't even think Battler has any potential lies here. Let's look at other random characters. Let's look at Kumasawa. That's when I arrived. She has said, like, nothing. That's when I arrived. They were all lying there, covered in blood. That doesn't say lying there dead, okay? Dining hall was locked up. I unlocked the door with a master key. Okay. Alright. I think it is Rudolph and Kyrie then. But the thing is Battler a culprit or not then? Is there anybody who Battler had the opportunity to go and kill? Let's pay attention to the 2nd Twilight stuff. So, yeah, no one's hiding. Well, that's 1st Twilight. We destroyed Genji's master key. 2nd Twilight. All the windows and doors were locked, making it a closed room. Okay. We made sure that no one would be able to enter or leave until the police arrived. The 2nd Twilight... The 2nd Twilight's the hardest one to pin down. Is it possible for Battler to kill Kraus and Natsuhi? Rudolph and Kyrie definitely had the opportunity to go out and kill everybody. Oh wait, the culprit of the first Twilight killed 6 people. So that would mean if Rudolph and Kyrie killed Eva, Hideyoshi, Rosa, and Genji, then it would make 6 if they killed Kraus and Natsuhi. So that would mean Battler could not kill Kraus or Natsuhi. So we need to pay attention to the Fourth Twilight. Battler did have the opportunity to go and kill, yeah, Battler did have the opportunity to go and kill Shannon and Cannon. Let's look at his Fourth Twilight. Anyone other than George could have killed her. If Battler's a culprit, that could be a lie, but that's true. George did have an alibi. That's not even a lie. The culprits can lie, but yeah. Is there anything... Okay, does anyone have an alibi for the 5th and 6th Twilight? Because y'all cousins were all together. Goda and Kumasawa are both dead. The 4 cousins and Dr. Nanjo couldn't have killed Goda or Kumasawa. None of us has an alibi. That's a lie. Battler. The guest house was still completely locked up. Battler could have let Rudolph and Kyrie in. She doesn't even have one for that. Judging by these wounds, they died instantly. That's when I arrived. Okay, Fourth Twilight, not one of us has an alibi. We destroyed the Master Key Shannon had held on the spot. Madam's room was locked, so that's actually the truth. But the thing is, it doesn't really matter how that happened. I can just say Rudolph and Kyrie did it. Because I just need to figure out who did it. I don't need to explain my reasoning there. Because it's like, dead for sure, dead for sure, dead for sure, dead for sure, dead for sure. Still alive, dead for sure. Rose is dead for sure. Genji's dead for sure. Dead, 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 dead. So it's just like the only people who could have done it, Battler, Rudolph, Kyrie. But who could Battler have killed? Because he could have just unlocked the guest house. Rudolph and Kyrie could have come in, killed Nanjo, killed Goda, and killed Kumasawa. Let's look at Shannon's. I unlocked the door. That's the truth then, because you died. Each of the children confirmed the deaths of their own parents. That's the real weird part. Because Nanjo didn't confirm the deaths of Rudolph, Kyrie, Eva, Hideyoshi, or Rosa. But George couldn't kill anybody. So that would mean Eva and Hideyoshi are dead for sure. Maria couldn't kill a single person. Because George is just like, Maria couldn't kill anyone. So if Maria isn't a culprit, then that would mean she wasn't lying about Rosa being dead. So that's interesting. I think it's Rudolph, Kyrie, and Battler, but still. It seems like the only person that he could have killed were Shannon and Cannon. Let's look at all the Fourth Twilight stuff. Not one of us has an alibi. We destroyed the key. I examined her and confirmed her death. I was forced to acknowledge that she was dead. We all went outside to look for them. At the very least, George couldn't have killed Shannon. But the thing is, Rudolph and Kyrie could have. But at the very least, this 5th or 6th Twilight thing's a lie. Huh. Can I read? Yes, I can. Alright. Let's pay close attention to this. All those who took refuge hold up until the typhoon passed. If everyone watched everyone else, they should be able to prevent further crimes both from inside and outside. However, they wouldn't be able to keep it up without any breaks until the typhoon passed. Once again, their actions left a weak point open, and they were faced with yet another tragedy. If everyone watched everyone else, they should be able to prevent further crimes both from inside and outside. Yet another tragedy. Shannon and Cannon went outside on an errand and still haven't come back. George got upset, so we all went outside to look for them. We found Shannon lying there in the rose garden. Oh, poor, poor Shannon. I prayed she was still alive, however, I was forced to acknowledge that she was dead. Of course, I examined her and confirmed her death. We were busy checking the locks around the guest house. That doesn't have to be true. Not one of us has an alibi. I see. So that means Battler definitely could have done it. Me kill her, how could I have killed her? That's right, George couldn't kill her. Later on, we learned that George had an alibi. At the very least, George couldn't possibly have killed Shannon. To turn it around, anyone other than George could have killed her. To prevent the culprit from using it for any mischief, we destroyed the Master Key Shannon had on the spot. At the time Shannon is killed, Cannon is being treated as killed, Cannon's Master Key's gone. That's what happens when Shannon dies. In other words, we can interpret this as Shannon and Cannon being killed at the same time, even though we're missing a corpse. That's right. Looks like the crimes are moving along. Crime of the Fourth Twilight, Rose Garden, no locks or doors, wasn't a closed room, Master Keys aren't a factor. Pace of the crimes began to accelerate. Alright, now I think I should look at the Fifth and Sixth Twilight. See exactly how this ended up. Because this is the only place where there's a lie, what Battler says. And he can't lie unless he's killed somebody. But the thing is, Battler could just kill someone later down the line. He couldn't have killed Jessica, he couldn't have killed Nanjo, he couldn't have killed Goda or Kumasawa. But, if it said the tale ends at 38th Twilight for now, it could just be that Battler just then and there on the spot kills George and Maria, and then that makes him a culprit. Everyone took shelter in the guest house, they carefully sealed all doors and windows, locking themselves in a closed room. Several closed room murders had already occurred. Could locking themselves do anything more than invite another tragedy? After arguing in the cousin room about finding the culprit, they decided they should double-check Nanjo, Kumasawa, and Goda's testimony. And there they learned that the tragedy occurred once more. In both Goda and Kumasawa's cases, such wounds would have resulted in instant deaths, I believe. Such a gruesome way to die. Like how they could survive with wounds like this, Goda and Kumasawa are both dead. Well, we have been busy keeping a lookout and locking up and all that. Once again, none of us has an alibi. That's not true. Look, if they were killed in that way, the culprit would definitely have gotten blood spatter on themselves. Right, okay. That's why Battler was just like, none of us has an alibi. But even so, he lied with the purple. Dr. Nanjo and all the cousins have no blood spatter on them. The four cousins and Nanjo couldn't have killed them. The culprit is someone other than us. Well, yeah, that's true. I guess that someone might have snuck in, so I checked around, but the guest house was still completely locked up. Rudolph and Kyrie could have hid somewhere else. Perhaps the culprit has a master key after all. That's impossible. No master keys exist anymore except the two keys on the two people who lie dead here. Since the two master keys that exist here are here inside the guest house, that makes this guest house a perfect closed room. No master keys exist anymore except the two keys on the two people who lie dead here. Well, since someone's dead, it obviously wasn't perfect. Hee 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 hee. And that's the crime of the Fifth and Sixth Twilights. Now no one can break into this closed room guest house, at least that should have been the case. Rudolph and Kyrie were already inside, weren't they? Okay, is there any penalty for guessing? Alright, select the culprit. Oh, I can select multiple people? I think this is the answer. Can I save just... Oh no, I can go back, though. Alright, just in case I'm gonna save, because I don't know if there's a fucking penalty for this. You know? Alright, culprit select. I think it's Rudolph and Kyrie at the very least, and Battler had the opportunity to kill Shannon and Cannon, and afterward he would have the opportunity to kill George and Maria, which would make him a culprit from the beginning anyways. Confirm. Achievement unlocked as I suspected. Ooh, does that mean I got it right?